What are you doing, man?
Sorry, I got people like trying to plan shit for the summer and they're messaging me and I'm like, I just can't handle this right now.
Texting nudes for
Can't
sexy
handle this.
nudes.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Relax Retro Talk, episode 37. I want to say
30 for
I need to check the episode numbers beforehand, but I think it is 37.
Yeah, I will get the actual confirmation, but I believe that you are correct. Uh it is always good to be back. Growing up the Game Gear was 36, so that makes this a 37.
37. Dude, I'm so
Yeah,
good at
funny
fucking
story talking about
being bad.
previous episodes of Relax Retro Talk. I
Creepiest episodes? Is that what you said?
randomly previous episodes. I
Oh.
randomly had a friend reach out to like a group chat that I was in, and they were like, take a guess at a console, an old console that nobody knew about that was released with free games built into the system. And I was like, Master System?
Yeah, I
Was
was
it
gonna
Hang
say.
On in Safari Hut?
And he
He was
was
like,
like,
yeah, how did you know that? I was like, here's a link to episode 22 of our podcast where we talk about that exact thing.
That's awesome.
It's also the one that I did this
Did
with
you
my
do that?
hands. I did this. It's in the
Cut the thumbnail
the
or whatever.
thumbnail.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that.
we were talking about the Master System in that, and so I sent that over because I was like, yeah, the Master System's a phenomenal system. They're still making games for it today,
In
like in
Brazil,
Brazil. Like
probably.
they're literally
I
still like
know.
it's still
Tech
happening.
toy, baby. That's
Yeah,
like
like
one of our probably most watched episodes, I think.
it's
Is the
great.
Master
It's
System one.
Master System was fantastic, and
Yeah, it is.
big high five to all of the Brazilian fans because I got to tell you, you guys picked a great system.
No doubt.
I that Master System's top tier. Love it.
It is. It's good.
Probably, I know maybe not commercially the best, but probably Sega's best system.
What?
I love it.
Come
It's so
on.
good.
Better than the
I look,
Genesis?
no, no. Well, that's what I mean. Not commercially. Like the Genesis was fantastic, but I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever put a game in on the Master System and been like, "This isn't fun." But I have done that with the Genesis.
Yeah, but I mean, you
The
also tried to
bar is set
play.
a lot
You
lower.
also tried to play every
All the
Genesis
Genesis
game.
games. Yeah,
Yeah, if you
there's a
do that
lot of
to
sports
any
games.
console, you're gonna have a bad
There's
time.
a lot of sports games on the Genesis, and they're all football and baseball.
Yeah, and then that Clax. Remember Clax?
Clax,
That
yeah.
one was bad.
It was
That was-
awful, but I mean, yeah, they can't all be bangers, right? What I should have done is curtailed the list to like,
The top 100 or something.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
should have played through. And I still might. I mean, I
Yeah.
still might do that. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the
A
show.
little bit of a tangent there.
Yeah.
But we're talking all
Um,
things handhelds today.
We're talking like the miscellaneous
Yeah.
handhelds. So like
Yeah.
nothing
The
by
non-
Nintendo, nothing
No.
by PlayStation,
These
nothing
are
by
the
Sega,
non-standard
basically.
handhelds. Probably a lot of handhelds that you, the listener, and technically, honestly, even we, the
Don't know too
people,
much about.
we've never, yeah, because I mean, there's a long history of handheld games. As long as games have been happening, people wanted to take them on the go,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And that's a thing. So yeah, lots of fun stuff.
I do also want to start this episode off kind of advertising a giant project I've been
bang.
working on since like December. My Dragon Quest 3 versus Final Fantasy 3 video should be going up
That's right.
next Sunday or next Monday. I haven't figured out what kind of day of the week, so.
Sunday.
So hope you guys are looking forward to that. Check out episode 1 and 2 where I do Dragon Quest versus Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest 2 versus Final Fantasy 2. Those are already up. But yeah, I'm trying to build some hype because
You're
I
not
will
like
cry. if
you're not like a Dragon Warrior fan or anything like that. Like
Nah,
there's
never heard of it. Never
Oh,
heard
wait,
of it.
what's that on your wall behind you? Oh, what's that?
Never heard of it.
No, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be great.
I hope it does well, because I would
I-
cry if it if it doesn't, man. So much, so
two
many
bangers
hours.
in each series. Although I have a tendency to believe that I know how your video is gonna end, having played both of those games. But hey, I'm in for a surprise. I'm all in.
It's
Who
good.
knows
It's
what's
a
gonna
good.
happen?
It's gonna be a good time. It's 41 minutes long, so
Oh my
definitely the
God.
longest video I've ever done as well. So, but yeah, let's swing
Tune
into
into that.
some weird ass handhelds.
Let's talk about handhelds, baby.
Should we just start with Tiger Electronics and then go through time?
Yeah,
or
well, I mean,
or
'cause
are
that's
they
the
on
thing.
that list in order?
Well, I mean, the Tiger Electronics came along in like the late 80s into the 90s, mid 90s, I would have said they probably
Yeah.
petered out.
Like
But
ones
I mean,
I have are like
don't get me
92.
wrong. I don't mean to say they petered out. Like they still make those kinds of things, and technically, if you include like things like Tamagotchi and stuff like that, I mean, you still have them creating that today. But
Yeah.
as far as it goes, I would put them in the time frame of like let's jump into them in like the early 90s.
Okay, when we get there. Okay.
We'll put it in there. Because
Sounds good.
because we've got a couple games here, or got a couple systems. So the very first system, I'm following kind of a list of like the history of handheld game systems. The very first one is a system called the Microvision. It's done by the Milton Bradley Company, and it's been christened with the title of technically the first handheld game console that used interchangeable cartridges.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so in 1979, it retailed
Back
for
in
$49.99.
Really?
Roughly translating in 2023 to about $212.
Holy shit!
Which
it sounded
roughly
like a deal
nowadays,
until you said that.
Maybe 2025 with inflation and tariffs and whatever you like,
Probably
$500.
$6,000 with with inflation from 2024 to 2025.
And so yeah, it was basically this little portable. It had a tiny little screen, and block pixels for the display, and grossing $15 million in the first year of the system's release.
Whoa, really? That's
It
quite
discontinued
impressive.
in 1981, so it was only on the market for about 3 years. And
But I mean, that's impressive. Is that counting for inflation that Milski?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think so.
That's a lot then. It did really
yeah,
well.
it did well enough for what it was. The display was 16 by 16 pixels.
Oh man.
So yeah, just a
I'm
little
just
guy.
picturing those, like, my grandma had one where it's like 1,001 games in one.
Yeah.
And it's just square. It's just Snake 17 times.
Let's play Snake.
Snake
Let's
and
play
poker.
Worm.
Yeah.
Let's play Viper.
Yeah, and
Let's
then there's
play
like a
Python.
car racing game. I remember I would play the car racing game all the time because it's the only one that wasn't complete shit.
It's the only non-Snake game on the,
Yeah.
on the title.
Yeah.
100 games and 99 of them are Snake.
Yeah, basically.
This system was powered by a 9-volt battery, which is an interesting choice for a handheld.
Yeah, it is.
But I mean, is what it is.
Gets the job done.
So that's 1979. Then we get to 1980 when the Game and Watch is released.
Oh, that was like super popular, especially in like Japan. That's kind of what
Technically,
kicked off the handhelds, really.
the first handheld game system to use the cross-design D-pad.
Ooh.
And yeah, very impressive. The Game and Watch itself
That was Nintendo then, too,
went
right?
for 11 years, from 1980 to 1991, and sold 43.4 million units.
Holy shit.
Um,
You could flip bacon with
there's
so many like little games. There was like
the catch thing.
Yes,
right?
and there was the there was like the fire. The house is on fire.
Yep.
You had to catch them
Yep.
with your trampoline and bounce them. It was like that LED, like real bad, like yeah.
Tiger Electrics, but
Basically,
not as bad.
basically, yeah.
Then
And
we
you
get
could
to-
play as Mr. Game and Watch
You
in
could.
the Smash Brothers games.
That's right. That's
eventually.
where it comes from.
Mhm.
Yep. Then there's a couple like randos on this list. The NTEX Select a Game,
Never
the
heard of that
NTEX
one.
Adventure Vision. Both of these are kind of like arcade rip-offy type of things
Okay.
that are like. Have you ever seen like the ones you put batteries in and it's got like lights that'll light up, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing too crazy. 50,000
Absolute
units sold on the
shit.
one, for example. Don't need to
Wow.
worry
I
about
could
it.
sell that out of the back of my car.
The Palmtex portable video game system that had a whopping 3 games released for it.
Holy shit.
The Digicast, which the
Never heard
game
of that.
cartridges contained the LCD screen. So
Oh,
kind
I
of cool.
have something like that, but I'm missing the bottom part. So like I
Okay.
have the screen things that plug in,
Yep.
and I was gonna bring it over here, and then I was like, what's the point? I don't have the part that you plug the
Can't make it
cartridges
work.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have the Epoch Pocket Computer that was a cartridge-based handheld. This is 1984.
That's a fucking
Uh,
mouthful.
Yeah. It sold for 12,800 yen, whatever that translates
That would
out
be
to.
like nowadays. That'd be like 100 and wait, hold on, 12,000. That'd be like 12. What did you say? 12,000.
12,800, about 13,000.
So move the decimal place over twice. That's like
So about
$128.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In 1984. So
Oh, that's steep. That's pretty steep.
pretty steep. Probably about $400 now,
Fuck.
right?
Yeah.
It was technically a commercial failure. It
For
did
that
have an
price.
8-way joypad.
that's impressive.
It ran on 4 AA batteries, and there were 7 games total released for
Damn.
the system.
Not good.
Not so great.
Not
So,
good.
but that's 1984. Then it's like nothing until 1989 when you get to the Game Boy,
And
right?
then
So
it
if you
kicks
imagine like
off.
all of these systems right up to this point, okay,
Yeah.
like we mentioned the one unit, the
Game
Game
and
and Watch
Watch.
at 40 million, right?
Yeah, that's like
Okay,
really
so
good.
So the Game Boy releases 1989 and sells about 119 million units.
Holy fuck.
Right, so it's just like meh.
But
It's
that's
like
when
straight up.
But that's when people were like, "Oh man, now there's a market for this now, right?
100%.
We have the
because
technology."
This is now the jump point. So now
Yeah.
the bar is set at the Game Boy. So here comes the Atari Lynx in the same year, 1989.
No way.
Yep.
Okay, so I've been playing Atari Lynx games in preparation for this podcast episode. All right? And like when you say that came out the same year as the Game Boy,
Same year.
I got to be a lot more fucking nice to the Lynx.
I
'Cause,
mean,
like
that's-
I was like comparing it to like the Game Gear, man. Like
Yeah.
I was like this is kind of shit. Everything's shit. Like my notes here, it's like shitty afterburner, shitty third-person shooter. But no, I mean it's impressive when you think of
Yep.
it that way.
Well, so the Game Boy comes out July 31st, 1989. The Atari Lynx releases September 1st, 1989. So a mere 2 months later is
Wow,
when the Atari
that
Lynx
is okay.
released.
So here's the thing: I never put my hands on an actual Atari Lynx. Okay, I emulated the games because I
Fair.
wanted to try them. So for all we know, it's there's like obviously
Maybe
there's,
the screen
there's
was
probably
rough or
no
something.
backlight, right? So it's probably really
No,
hard
there
to
wasn't.
see.
No,
But
it had
it's
an
color.
LCD display.
It's full fucking color. And I just want to go through some of the games I played on it and kind of my experiences with them. Starting with Ninja Gaiden, because there's a version of Ninja Gaiden on there, and it is I wrote here in my notes, shitty port of the shitty arcade beat 'em up game. And it's absolute shit. But
Yep.
but impressive considering it came out 2 months after the Game Boy. Like visually, that game is super impressive, but gameplay wise it's crappy. But at the same time, the arcade version of Ninja Gaiden's also crappy.
You know what? I stand corrected. The display was backlit. It was a backlit
What?
3.5-inch color LCD.
Damn. That's impressive.
That's impressive.
I gotta say, that's pretty impressive.
Good on you, Atari. They sold 2 million total units of the Atari Lynx.
Which, I mean, here's the thing, man. To sell 2 million of something is still really fucking good.
Still good.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think.
for what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
But I mean, it pales in comparison to the 100
Oh, yeah, to the Game Boy.
120 million to the Game Boy. So I mean, you got that, okay?
Is there a reason why it didn't do well? Was it because the games just weren't that good, maybe?
I mean,
Or was the price point real high compared to the Game Boy? Because I imagine it would if it's backlit
had
and color.
introductory price $179.99, equivalent to about $460.
So what was the
Nowadays-
Game Boy when it came out?
The Game Boy was approximately $89.99. So you've got a
So
price
there you
difference of
go.
about $100 there.
Yeah, that would be it.
So,
And the
but
games
I mean,
weren't like by any means great.
no,
You know what I mean?
and I mean, and again though, like that price obviously went to the color backlit screen.
Oh yeah.
Right. The best-selling game on the
I wonder if it's on
Atari
my
Lynx
list.
was a game called Road Blasters.
Yeah, I have it. It's the only one that I wrote kind of cool next to. So,
Which was a arcade game, apparently.
okay, so yeah, I had Ninja Gaiden, which was like a shitty port of the shitty Ninja Gaiden arcade game. So they didn't have a lot to work with to begin with. They had one called Blue Lightning, which is basically Afterburner, and it's not bad, honestly. Like I wrote a not terrible Afterburner clone, and considering it came out the same freaking year as the Game Boy, now I'm like, wow, that game's actually pretty good. The steering is really jank. Like if you press up, you're just like, like you're like straight up. So when you use like, you know how they have like the Vulcans at the front that are like,
Sure. Yep.
so you're trying to aim, and they're like the if we're going this way, but the camera's this way, but if we're going this way, and like the fighter ships are like here, the other dogfighting guys. So if you want to aim at them, you're like, like you can't just But if they go near your crosshair, you can launch missiles at them. So it's not bad, honestly. If I were to if I were to make a list of games I recommend to try on the Atari Lynx, Blue Lightning would be in there.
That would have been in there.
Um,
Yeah. The only thing they can find about the decline of the Lynx is that they started in '93. They shifted the focus away from the Lynx to start working on the Jaguar.
Oh, the
So
Jag.
the team shifted, and I gotta say, everything that I'm reading here sounds like they were in line with, like, they were like, yeah, this is where we were expecting to be selling this unit.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like a disappointment from their end.
Maybe
either.
they could have done better had they not shifted towards the
like longer lasting
Jaguar
support kind of thing.
Yeah, but it sounded like they were in rough shape. They ended up selling out to Hasbro.
Yeah,
Yada.
Atari's been passed around for a long time now.
Yeah, not the best shape, but yeah. So that was 1989.
That's crazy, man. They had Chips Challenge. Do you remember Chips Challenge?
I do remember.
We used to
Chips
play it at
Challenge.
school on the computers. It's the same. It's the same Chips Challenge. Electro Cop, which is a very weird third-person shooter. Your guy looks like bad NES box Mega Man. And you're
Electro Cop.
and you're like running around, and you're fighting against like the Walker RoboCop, like the Walker tank one. You basically just fighting those, and you walk in like this way. There's a shoot button and a duck button, and you have to like shoot them at different levels, and then you go through doors. It's not great, but it's kind of like a cool concept for that time, but it's kind of not great. Then there was Gates of Zendikon, which is basically just bad R-Type. It's it's like
bad R-Type.
Yeah, it's really bad R-Type. Road Blasters, which you mentioned, was actually kind of cool. It's basically like Outrun crossed with Spy Hunter. So like if you took like Outrun, the view is kind of like behind the car instead of a top view, and you're driving down and you're shooting other cars and stuff. It's fun. It's a good game.
Outrun with the radio on. It's like dun 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 dun.
I always forget freaking Spy Hunter has that playing like. Is it the whole game?
The whole game.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was the whole game or if it was
like
like the build up to the.
Yeah. Once you crash, you go.
And then
dun, 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 dun.
I used to think that game was so good when I was really, really young.
I mean, it was a fine arcade game. When you put a quarter in, you play a life, and then you leave. But
yeah,
like
as like to
play
buy
any
it,
extended period of time.
not great.
No.
And then there was Zybots, which is another weird third-person shooter.
Video game makers loved to use Z
And bot.
And robots, like
it's
robots
actually
and the letter Z.
It's not even a Z. It's even better. XY.
Yeah, that's also
Even better.
Definitely in
like
there.
Xevious, the
yeah,
old
to
NES
use the
game.
X as a Z sound. Yeah.
But yeah, Zybots is another third-person shooter. Plays kind of like the pseudo 3D segments from the original Contra. Like remember, like was it like when the camera's behind you in Contra and you got to shoot like the wall and stuff?
Yeah.
It plays kind of like that. It's not nearly as good. It's very slow and like Yeah, it's not nearly as good, so don't like think it's good by any means, but that's the best way to describe it.
I love it.
And then the last game I played is called Warbirds, and it's kind of impressive, honestly. It's like a World War One dogfighting game, airplane game.
Okay.
And graphically, like, it looks like what you would expect to play on like something like DOS. Like it does. It looks pretty good, and like it controls well. It's slow. The frame rate's kind of shit, but like I don't know. I had fun with it. So those are the Atari Lynx games I played. And like I said, there's like maybe 3 in there that I would say are pretty decent.
Yeah, and I mean, and they had, according to this, less than 100 games released, right?
Yeah.
Which is pretty. I mean,
compared to the Virtual Boy,
yep.
I think Virtual Boy only had 12, and that had Nintendo back in it, right? So,
interesting enough. So 1990 kicks off a ton of handhelds, right? So you've got the success of like the home game console systems, and then you've got the Game Boy that comes out, and then everyone's like, we got to get a portable system like now.
We got to get in on this money.
There's a bunch of systems. So the Game Gear comes out in 1990 at 11 million units sold, which is pretty impressive for what it is.
Absolutely.
The Turbo Express also released in this time frame, which is NEC. This was the home console for the Turbo Graphics.
Yeah, it was like the portable Turbo Graphics. So you could play the Hue cards in it.
Yeah, the ROM cards that they had for it. And those were the ones you could just stick that in the Turbo Graphics, could you not?
Yeah, so it's the same as, you know how the Master System had the little cards? Because you had cartridges, but you also had the cards.
That's
right.
The
TurboGrafx 16 uses, they're called Hue cards, and all their games are on those, and you could play them. I thought it was called the Turbo Duo for some reason, but
this one's called the Turbo Express, an 8-bit handheld system.
Oh, maybe that one's different then.
Yeah, it's essentially a portable version of the TurboGrafx 16.
Oh no, never mind. That's what.
And the launch price was $250 American.
Holy shit!
Equivalent to about $600.
That's ridiculous. Ain't nobody buying that shit.
But it was able to play all, and you're right about the Hue cards. It was able to play all of the TurboGrafx games.
Yeah.
It had a backlit active matrix color LCD screen and an optional TV tuner for TV on the go.
I do remember seeing that. See, I think we talked about this last episode with the Game Gear.
Just a little bit.
I would have loved it with the Game Gear to have had that like TV tuner as a kid.
Great.
Like just sitting.
Put the rabbit ears on it.
Yeah, dude. Laying in bed.
Watch some CBC and Red Green Show.
Yeah, dude.
The Farm Report. Yeah, so I mean, all considered, sold 1.5 million units. It released 1990, discontinued 1994. It ran off of 6 AA batteries.
I bet it died real quick because like
the same as the Game Gear.
Because the Game Gear was at least playing. Well, no, because Game Gear games are essentially Master System games, but they are toned down. Whereas this is like legit, straight up
literally
TurboGrafx games that you're just sliding into there.
It says that at launch, though, there was a problem with faulty capacitors, which was an industry-wide issue. But that created sound failure issues, and the screen was another source of problems. So it was plagued with a little bit of technical issues.
That's unfortunate.
Unfortunately for it.
The Game Gear was plagued with that stuff too later on. Like way out of its heyday, people started having issues with the sound and the screens.
Yeah, I was looking for how long the battery life was on it. It has the Game Gear at about 5 to 6 hours. The Atari Lynx at more than 4 hours.
Ew.
On this one was 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, see, I figured it would have been bad because you're playing like the TurboGrafx 16. As much as it's like an 8-bit console, it was advertised as a 16-bit console.
Right?
It's kind of like in between, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, there's no way.
Yeah, 2 to 3 hours on 6 AA batteries. I gotta say, in 1990, I don't think you're getting that many batteries in there. It did have the ability for an AC adapter, so that's the way that you'd play it. But the point of a portable system is to be portable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a bit rough. So anyway, yeah, the Turbo Express, very interesting. Then the next one on the list is something called a Game Mate from the Bit Corporation.
Never heard of that one.
Technology similar to the Game Boy. It's about in the shape of the Game Gear.
Oh,
It had
okay.
about 71 games totally released, but there's no exact sales figures known.
Oh.
So it doesn't
Did it
sound like
even exist?
great.
Dude,
Uh,
so about the Turbo Express, that's like a
yeah.
19 that sounds like a 1980s pro wresling tag team
Oh
faction
yeah.
name, hey?
Yeah. We're the Turbo Express, brother.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We're coming for you, Hulk Hogan. You better watch out when the Turbo Express rolls through.
The Turbo Express, brother.
The Game Mate is was out of Taiwan and China essentially.
Oh, it might have been. Was it only released in Asia even?
Probably. I
Yeah.
mean, it was kind of all over the place, right? It was released produced Switzerland, Greek, UK.
Had like
It's
a
a bit all over
European
the
release.
world. I don't think it was super big in North America, which would
No.
explain why we have no idea what it is. But similar in terms of like the screen, the way it works, very Game Boy, except instead of playing like this, you play it like this.
Oh, okay.
Right? It was like wide. It had a round D-pad, so the 8-point D-pad,
Oh,
with
okay.
a cross and like the corners kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It did have Tetris on it,
Ooh.
and it had a bunch of other games that I've never heard of. But they also used the those slim plastic cards that looked like cue cards.
Oh, okay.
So very interesting. Not super successful, but did exist. Then we get to the Game Master. Now this one was really interesting to me. So the Game Master looks a lot like a Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
Like very, very similar. The way
Oh,
the
really?
screen looks, everything, right? So keep in mind, we're still in 1990, okay? So picture in your mind a Game Boy Advance. But what I want you to do is to take the D-pad and instead of having it going up and down and side to side like an X and Y, I want you to tilt it so it makes an X.
Why? Did it have like a lot of those shitty like isometric 3D games
Maybe. I don't know. There was 19 games total released. Bubble Boy, Car Racing, Dungeon Adventure, Go Bang,
maybe? Go
Pinball.
Bang. What a
Pinball, but it's 2 words. Pinball. Yeah, I mean,
Sounds like something my
gotta-
grandma would accidentally buy off like one of those TV shows.
I gotta say, man, this one was interesting. Another European system. You've got Denmark, UK, France, Spain, Italy. So
Okay, yeah.
but I don't know why they would put the D-pad there. That's a very interesting choice.
Only thing I could think is like most of the games have like that isometric 3D.
I get, yeah. I mean, yeah, but it's just
Like
like to have it as an
Hubert.
X. Like,
I always have to like whenever I play Cubert on the
Tilt
NES,
it.
I would like tilt my controller.
yeah, you have to turn it a
Yeah,
little bit to make
yeah.
it work, right? So that's it for 1990, right? In 1992, we have a system called the Watara Supervision,
That sounds
released.
cool.
which was again a competitor to the Game Boy. It released with a price lower than the Game Boy at $49.95.
That's a bargain.
Total cost about $111
today.
yeah, it came packed in with a game called Crystal Ball, which was similar to Breakout, so where you get the paddle and then it bounces the ball.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
One player Pong. We call
It was an interesting choice. It looked a lot like the actual Game Boy, but they released a version with a tiltable screen.
Oh,
so
weird.
you could hold it, and then the screen would tilt forwards and backwards to get the contrast just right.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, not super successful either. I mean, anytime they don't release how much money they made or how many they sold,
You know it was real.
you know
bad.
that it wasn't super good.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see all these systems pop up that were like the Game Boy's super awesome. Let's make a game system that's cheaper and better somehow. And so that's why you get all of these things, right?
Yeah.
So, 93, you have something called the Mega Duck.
What?
Again.
What? The mega. Remember that? There's that villain in Darkwing Duck, Negaduck.
Mega Duck.
Did you
This
hear? I
was
think
his
they're
system.
bringing Darkwing Duck back. They're like
I
making a
did
new
hear. Yeah,
series.
I believe they are actually in the process of doing so, which I gotta say, I'll watch that.
Yeah,
I
dude.
liked the new DuckTales. It was really good. So,
I heard it was good. Yeah.
I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be. And Darkwing Duck was in the new DuckTales, so maybe
No,
it's
really?
yeah, yeah. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it if you
Oh,
haven't
shit.
already. If you liked those shows back then,
Yeah,
it does
I
it
did.
does it does good service to it. You would like it. Yeah,
You
it's
know
good.
what show I
And it's got
watched?
Ben Schwartz in it, and
Oh, Sonic's in there?
Abed from Sonic's in it, and Abed from Community's in it. I
Oh,
can't
I don't
remember
know who
the
that is.
actual actor's name. I apologize.
I've never
actual
even
actor.
seen the show. I don't know.
It's good. And oh, dang, what's his name? The 10th Doctor Who.
Oh, I don't know any of those.
The
girl one?
David Tennant.
Oh.
David Tennant. It's got David Tennant as Scrooge McDuck.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic, and it's great. You should watch it.
The one I watched the most, probably, and like this is not probably a good one, was I think it was called Quack Pack. It was
The Quack Pack was great.
when they were like teenagers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Quack
dude,
Pack
I
and the Goof
loved
Troop. Those
that.
both came out around the same time.
I loved it. That was my jam when I was a kid.
Quack Pack, that was great. Yeah, that was back in the like early '90s when
It was
they were
like
trying
edgy
to-
Huey, Dewey.
They were trying to,
Louie.
yeah, they were trying to like bring back the Disney characters in like '90s, early '90s ways.
Yeah.
Everyone wore backwards hats with their hair.
Yeah, long
sticking out.
shirts,
Yeah,
real long T-shirts,
and like sunglasses that were down like this,
and
right?
yeah,
they were
the
always
black
round.
circle. Yeah, dude, remember? So like, there's like the pro wrestling. It's like Edge and Christian would wear the sunglasses, and the things would
Yeah.
go over the top of their
Yes.
head instead of on their
Yes.
ears. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Our good friend Crinkle has a pair of those
Does
sunglasses.
he actually?
Like the actual Oakley ones. Yeah, yeah, they're worth a lot of money apparently too. Like
I
they're-
bet, because like
apparently
they
they're worth
only
a
made
lot.
them for a short period of time.
Very short period of time, yeah. So yeah, you got to ask him about those sometimes. And it's literally circles that go up and over your head like this. And,
Oh my
Yeah, it's a thing.
goodness.
So yeah, so then 1993, then 1995 rolls around, and here we are at the Sega Nomad.
Yeah. This was just a
the-
Genesis, basically.
Yeah, the
It was just playing
Nomad
Genesis
was
games.
the follow-up to the Game Gear, and was their last handheld system. They didn't release another handheld system after the Nomad because they were like, "Now we're done with handhelds after
Yeah.
that." So, 1995 released, 1999 discontinued, sold 1 million units, and
But you
not
could-
super successful.
You could play
but
your Genesis
you
games
could
on the
literally
go, which is
plug
nice.
your Genesis.
So
into
this
it.
was I wanted
Genesis
to
systems.
I was gonna bring this up last episode, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I waited till now because we I kind of mentioned it last episode, I believe. But so speaking of the Nomad, this is like a knockoff, but it's what this
This is the Monad.
This is the Monad. No, so what this one plays actually is NES games.
Okay.
And it looks
Oh,
ridiculous because the
Yeah.
NES game is like far bigger than this. So your cartridge
Sure.
would stick out like about here, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to bring this on like road trips and stuff all the time because I would
Nice.
play like TMNT2 and like Adventure Island. But the dumbest thing ever is the A and B buttons are in the wrong spot.
Oh no.
Yeah, dude.
Why would they do that to us?
I don't
And
know.
you can't switch it, I'm sure.
No, it's a nightmare.
It must be like a trademark thing or like a copyright type thing maybe to
Yeah.
have the buttons in that order. Like they can rip the Nintendo off as long as they don't make it like the Nintendo
Playable.
kind of thing. I mean that would be impossible because it would be rough skis. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so then we've got something called the Design Master. Have you ever heard of this
No.
one? So
That's
the
a
Design
bad name.
Master is Bandai's touchscreen handheld game system,
Oh, weird.
released in 1995. It was released specifically into Japan, but it literally has a stylus, and you write on it. Which
So kind of
is
like the precursor to both the WonderSwan and the DS, really,
correct.
if you think about
yeah,
it.
which is really interesting. There's only 9 games released.
I thought you were going to say there was only 9 of them sold. I was
No,
like,
I know
what?
so well, I mean for what it's worth. Very, very little. But some interesting titles were on here. The Dragon Ball Z Tyson Gata Search Battle is on here. Rockman X3 Buster Battle is on here.
All right.
And then you've got these designs, which were basically the sprites of the characters that the players can use in games by connecting the design cartridge onto an additional port of the cartridge. So you can take Goku and put him into Rockman, and away you go.
Oh,
So kind
weird.
of a cool idea. Yeah, really interesting choice. There was an unreleased game called the Weekly Shonen Jump Special, which would have been super cool to play, but
Yeah, no
not
doubt.
successful in any
Interesting.
way, shape, or form. 1997. So we're way past
Doing a
now.
big jump. Yep.
Big jump. To the game.com.
Oh man, that one's
Tiger
bad.
Electrics. And this is a good opportunity to bring in the other Tiger games, I
Okay.
guess.
Let's bust out the
before
old...
we jump into the game.com,
Let's see.
we'll have that at the end of the Tiger game.
Let's see what Tiger was up to before
was Tiger up to?
game.com. I didn't put new batteries in these or anything, but I feel like the Tiger Electronics was like your parents wanted to get you, if you asked for a game for Christmas, you were gonna get like one game, but then your parents were like, he loves games, let's get him another one, let's get him something else.
Absolutely.
So they'd buy one of these pieces of shit, and they're like just LED LCD, like you're better off just playing with a calculator in the back seat of the car, basically.
Yep.
And I remember playing the shit out of both of these, though, regardless of how garbage they were. I would play the shit out of them. I don't know why.
I had a couple of these systems. So the first one I have that I had was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one. It was made, I think it was still a Tiger Electronics, but it was Konami. It was like it had the picture of like the NES Ninja Turtles.
Okay, yeah. A lot of them would
Box on
do
it.
that, man. They do that because like there was like a Street Fighter one that had like the
Oh yeah, for sure. And so you were walking through the sewer and you had to fight things. So funny story about this one. So like, and all of these systems, I bet I was begging my parents for them because you'd see them in the Sears catalog or
Why
whatever,
would you
right?
beg
Like,
your
I want
parents
this
for
so
them?
bad. Well, because as a kid, you don't know what it is.
You don't know
right?
how
You don't
shitty
know.
it's gonna be. You just see
You
this and you're like,
You
I like
yeah, you're
Aladdin.
yeah, that's gonna be fantastic.
Sonic
And they would
2?
always-
I like Sonic 2.
Anytime that they advertised these on TV too, they would put like the actual like graphics on there from the NES game. They're like, you could also take it on the go with Tiger Electronics, right? And so anyway, so I was like, yeah, I want this so bad, and I went and I snooped through my parents' closet before Christmas, and I found the game handheld in the closet,
Early.
and I was like, yes. And I grabbed it and I started playing the game through the package because it would be open so you could push them and test the game.
Oh yeah, I thought you
So
meant it was
there
like
I-
wrapped, but no, it was like okay.
No, it was in there, and then it was like like because you through the packaging you could push the button.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
test it out, right. And so anyway, there I am sitting on my parents' floor in front of the closet playing with it, and my mom comes in and I'm busted like hard.
No way.
And she's like, now you're not getting it for Christmas. Now I'm going to take it back because you went and you snooped. And I was like, no, I'll forget that I saw it. I'll forget that I saw it. I
Were you like,
swear."
it's shit anyways?
And so anyway, so yeah. And then leading up into Christmas, that was like the ultimate like betrayal I could have done to my parents. Long story short, it was under the tree. And when I opened it, my mom was like, I should still take it back because you were snooping in the closet and ruined it. But I got it, and I did play that. For what it's worth, I played the ever-loving bejeebers out of it. I really did. I enjoyed that game. It was still fun. So I had the Ninja Turtles one. I also had, and I was saying this to you earlier. There was a Virtua Cop one.
Yeah,
that
and it
had
looks
a literal
awesome.
gun. I mean, it still was a Tiger game. So what would happen?
Okay,
is the
so
guy-
I'm starting to understand now why you asked for these games because
Yeah, 'cause
I
they
saw a
look
picture
cool.
of it and I'm like, that looks kind of cool.
What I'm saying is, when you see it, you're like, yes, that looks so freaking cool.
It's got
And
a
so
little
anyway, so
gun, you guys. I looked it up.
literally has a gun, and you put a battery in it, and then so the system itself folds. So you've got like a stand, right? So it's like
Oh.
it's big, and then you fold the back up, and then you set it on the table, and then you like. Pew, 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 pew,
But like,
pew
what
at
are
the
you
screen,
shooting at, Ethan?
right? And so there's a little sensor, like a remote control, at the bottom of it. And so anyway, the sprites on there would go from small to big, and you had to shoot them before they got too big. Otherwise, you took a hit, and then you
Okay.
only got so many hits, kind of thing, right? I loved the idea of it. Awful game.
Did it work?
Like It worked great.
Oh, that's surprising.
For what you think. But it was not a fun game because you can imagine in a screen this big, aiming this far away, when there's basically target 1, 2, and 3, you just kind of sit there like this, and you're just.
Oh, you just literally you could just do this.
You could just do this and then never. And sometimes you'd miss, sometimes you wouldn't. It is what it is. But one cool thing, you did have to aim away from the screen and pull the trigger for it to reload.
Oh, the gun,
so
just like in.
cool. So,
yeah, that's
exactly.
cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Terrible.
The only other one that I can think of, and I had a couple of these, were fishing games.
That sounds cool,
literal
too.
fishing rod. I wonder if I could find one.
Dude, I've always wanted to get, like, there's like that Dreamcast. There's like Sega Bass Fishing on Dreamcast, and they have the fishing rod controller. I've always wanted that since I was a little kid.
The game, if you go onto Google and you look for it, it's called Fishing Champion Tiger Electronics. And it's like this burgundy fishing handle, and it's got a screen on it and a crank on the side.
Probably has worse graphics than a fish finder.
They're very similar. And so what you would do, you literally cast and you reel it in, and it would vibrate. It would go wah, wah, wah,
oh,
when
really?
you caught a fish, and you had to set the hook and reel it in, and it would tell you what kind of fish you caught. And you could choose your baits, and you could choose where you're going. That's
kind of cool, man.
It's a cool idea. I gotta say, cool. I really liked it.
I'm gonna be
yeah, very, very cool stuff. They were great for a less than 10-year-old kid, but compared to like actual game systems,
not quite there.
They were like $20,
yeah,
right? Like, you're not breaking the bank with these things, so that's why I got them for Christmas instead of an actual Game Boy.
And then Tiger Electronics was like, what if we release a console and make it just as bad?
What if we do this, but put it on the internet?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's not even called, it's called the game.com. It's not even the Gamecom.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it was the game.com.
I wonder what happens if you type in game.com. I'm going to do it on my phone.
I mean, it probably got purchased by a porn website.
Only one way to find out.
The game.com released 1997 at a total price of $69.95.
It's a fucking crypto. It's like a cryptocurrency
crypto scheme. Jeez. Yeah. They sold fewer than 300,000 of these units, and it took 4 AA batteries. The Pocket Pro, they released a second version of this.
Oh my god.
So the original model came out at $69.95. The Pocket Pro came out at $29.99.
Oh my goodness.
And so you did have the ability of connecting to the internet with the game.com.
Mm-hmm. It was like black and white, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
too.
it was. Yeah, and so
shit.
You needed to use a specific cartridge and then a dial-up modem. Neither was included with the system. You had to buy these both separately.
Oh my god.
But it would allow you to read emails, okay? And it supported text-only web browsing. So you could go with the 14.4 kilobit per second modem and browse the internet via text.
Only. Yeah.
Only.
Wow. What a piece of garbage.
That was something else, but yes. And 1 year later, the Neo Geo Pocket is released.
Oh, why didn't I grab that? Hold on, I have.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure you have a Neo Geo Pocket. I will actually bring up the fact that the Neo Geo Pocket, it was also monochrome system, which is really interesting because I got to tell you, I would have expected that to be colored. By the time 1998, 1999 rolls around, I don't know why the system is monochrome. This should be color. So, but then they released a color version of it. The OG version was monochrome though, but it is what it is.
So the whole time I was like, man, I know there's another oddball handheld that I have.
Got one of these systems. I know I do.
And then, so the Neo Geo Pocket Color made by like SNK.
Yeah. So you've got the color.
Yeah. And there's some like good games on this, man. Like,
yeah.
I've got King of Fighters R2. Hold on. Shit's dusty.
It's all dusty.
King of Fighters R2. I've got Samurai Showdown
I was
2.
gonna say Samurai Showdown was on that list.
And then Metal Slug First Mission. It's like the prequel to Metal Slug. Super fun game. And then the best game on the whole console, in my opinion, is Sonic Pocket Adventure. It's a Sonic the Hedgehog game. And what it is, it's essentially a remake of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. But, like, it's like, because, like, Sonic Advance came out on the Game Boy Advance, like, a few years later.
Okay.
And it kind of uses, like, so Sonic Advance, I feel like, uses a lot of assets from this game. It's like if you reimagined Sonic the Hedgehog 2 with the graphical style of Sonic Advance. Like, it's good. I really liked it.
Interesting.
It's got, instead of a D-pad, it's got, like, a joystick that you can hear click. Do you hear that?
I can't hear it, but it's got, like, tactiles. Like, it's like a switch.
Yeah,
the click as you push it over,
and it feels nice. Okay. It feels nice. It's really good.
Got it.
All the buttons feel nice. The main problem with this bad boy is, I don't know what it is, but it shuts off. Like, it'll just shut off. Okay. So I don't know if it's like the batteries are fucked. Like, I don't know, but
it's possible. So I mean, it says here that it takes 2 AA batteries for 40 hours of play.
Yeah,
It's got a button battery, a lithium button battery for backup memory in the clock, and maybe it's possible that's
what's fucked
for you.
Yeah. That's what's fucked.
Which case you probably could open it up, but it'll be soldered on, so you'd need to desolder it and solder.
Well, it's got a little. I don't even know if it is because it's got its own.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, it might just be able to replace it.
Might be able to, but
that's possible.
It's
the system released as a monochrome system in Japan though. So it was color here when it got to the North America, but it originally released in Japan as a monochrome system. And that blows me away. Why would you want monochrome for this?
I don't know.
Right? Like, I don't understand. That by 1997, 1998, like
you gotta have color.
You gotta be color, otherwise you're falling off the ledge here.
But like I don't think it's backlit. I don't remember if it's backlit or not. But it's full color. Like, it's sharp. Like, it looks good. Yeah,
it says nope, non-backlit. Yeah,
no.
So you would be using one of them worm lights for one of these.
Well, it's not as bad as, like, I would say it's better than, like, the Game Boy Advance.
I was gonna say, like, the OG Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, because, like, the Game Boy Advance was pretty tough sometimes to get, like, a good lighting. But I feel like this, I don't know, it was a little bit better than the Game Boy Advance.
The screen
you didn't
kind
have
of took the colors a bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the main reason why the system went down was because the company that owned SNK decided to discontinue operations outside of Japan.
Oh, okay.
And so they kind of ended up selling off the remaining stock. And
what was the price point on it? Because I know, like, the Neo Geo, they made like a console, and it was like,
oh yeah,
it was outrageous. It was like $1,000, like $799 back then. So I wonder if this was
very
super
reasonable. This was $69.95.
Oh, really?
Not
I'm surprised
bad.
it didn't do
I mean, in 1999.
So, well.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's.
What year did the GBA come out? Was the GBA after this?
That's the thing, is the GBA was after this by 3 years. So
damn.
Well, technically 2, because the OG, like the Neo Geo Color, when it dropped in North America, was August 6th, 1999, but it discontinued June 13th, 2000. So like,
damn. I feel like if they would have like backed this thing,
yeah,
it would have done really well.
And the thing is like I said, it sounds like the reason why it actually died off wasn't because the system wasn't doing well, it was because the parent company was like, nah, we're staying to Japan only.
Damn. Because like visually, I would argue visually the Neo Geo Pocket Color is better than the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, it's definitely impressive for what it is. So
because the GBA to me is like Super Nintendo, right? Like maybe sometimes a little bit better, sometimes a little bit worse, but overall it's basically like Super Nintendo graphics. I would say this is a little bit better than that.
Yeah, it's I mean, for what it's worth, it says it sold 2 million units. So for 1 year's worth of life, that's not bad.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Yeah, no doubt.
1 minuscule year later, we have the release of the Wonder Swan by Bandai.
A lot of good Digimon. Well, I don't know if good's the word, but a lot of decent Digimon games on that.
Wonder Swan released March 4th, 1999. Great day, March 4th, gotta say.
Was that your birthday?
That's my birthday. And then the Wonder Swan Color released December 9th, 2000. And the Swan Crystal releases July 12th, 2002, which I'm assuming is just another version of the same thing.
So I'm pretty sure the Crystal is just, remember in like the 90s, early 2000s,
screen,
everything.
Like.
Oh, maybe it had a better screen, because the biggest downside to the Wonder Swan Color is how dark the screen is. Like it's really hard to get light in it. So I took the Wonder Swan Color out so I can show kind of you guys this. But I wanted to show you, I got the Final Fantasy Wonder Swan Color. So Final Fantasy 2 and Final Fantasy 4, I don't think 3 was, but they were all released on the Wonder Swan Color. I remember emulating these back in the day, and they're like really, really well done. Oh, you can see on the back, if to get an idea of like what the games look like. They look like the PS1 versions, basically. And
it only ran off of a single AA battery.
Yes, and that I think is why the screen is so like dark and hard to see.
It makes sense, but that's still pretty impressive.
And the battery
really,
kind of like pops like right. So here's the like
use 2 batteries at that point.
The battery pack, and you like push it, and then the battery. Let me see here. The battery comes right like out. It's super weird.
Oh really?
Yeah. Hold on. I can't do it right now, but you're putting me on the spot. But anyways,
jammed up in there.
But anyways, the battery pack comes right off, and the battery comes out with it. It's like super weird. Yeah, like because you can see that's the battery right there. But so when I posted some pictures of the Wonder Swan Color on the YouTube channel, like under the community posts and stuff, and a lot of people were like, "It looks like you have to hold it like with 2 left hands," but it's not. That's not how it is. It's because the image was cut off. Like you could only see like here probably.
Right.
So you do have like an A and B button on the side that A and B should be.
But it's so you can play it vertical or horizontal.
Exactly. So when you're playing like shoot 'em ups and stuff, you can hold it this way, and play it this way. So it's kind of a cool idea.
That's a cool idea.
And then you can see like the Final Fantasy 1 guy on the top there. Yeah. And then the games. I like how the games are literally like just like that, and then
open,
yeah, it's like an open concept, like the back, and then they just slide right in.
Huh, neat. I see. It says that they sold 3.5 million units.
That's really really good. There's Final Fantasy 4.
It was ultimately outperformed by the Game Boy Advance due to its brightly colored screen and deep game library, and then that was basically it. Just kind of put it into a chokehold and put it down.
Digimon game.
Yeah. And this was a Japan only system.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So I mean that is the other thing too, is this technically wasn't released at all in North America. You'd have to get your hands on an import.
You gotta import it.
But yeah, very interesting system, that's for sure. So
I got it for a really good price too, because it was like one of those. You know how the Super NESs from that time period are all like covered in cigarette shit. This was like that, and I had to clean it and stuff. But
give it a good scrubbing.
Yeah, I got it for real cheap because it came with this. It came with obviously Final Fantasy 1 and came in the box and everything. It was like less than $100. So
not bad.
Yeah,
I love it. Then we have a system in 2000. So 1999, we go to 2000, called the Cibico, which is basically nothing. Is a PDA handheld game system. A lot of game systems in the 2000s trying to get into that like Palm Pilot style.
Yeah, I forgot about the PDAs and the Palm Pilots. Yeah. You could run Excel on some of them, or something like Excel, like spreadsheets, basically. Yeah.
This game system has more than 430 games and applications produced, all free.
All of them Snake, probably.
And it was digital games. You would download them from your computer and upload them onto this unit. So, 500,000 units sold. Not super special. The next year, the Game Boy Advance releases and sells 82 million units.
Holy shit! But I mean, it's essentially like a Super Nintendo that you can bring with you. Like,
yeah, I mean, up to this point, nobody's touching Nintendo for handheld systems, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got the original Game Boy at 100, like 120 million or whatever it was that I said, and then you've got the Game Boy Advance at 81 million. Like you're just not touching it.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing. We got a couple randos here. We've got the GP32, which is a South Korean system,
Oh, okay.
and the P/ECE Aqua Plus, which is
Just rolls off
was
the tongue, that
open
one.
source hardware released only in Japan. Digital games. So we're getting into digital games being downloaded. You download them on your computer, you then upload them to your system, and that's kind of the idea. These ones not even worth mentioning as far as it goes, because like 32,000, I think, on the GP32.
Yeah.
No, not even any number listed. So
What was that other weird one that I was like trying to remember? Started with a G or an R or something.
The Gizmondo.
Yes, the Gizmondo. Yeah.
That one's just a couple more away. We're almost at the
Okay. Ooh, the main event.
We've reached the point of the n-gage.
Oh, I was gonna ask you, did the n-gage come out first or the Gizmondo?
Released
the taco phone. You had to hold it.
2003, yeah, released, and it was part game console, part mobile phone.
Yeah.
It's a Nokia system. They sold 3 million units.
Really? I did not know that. You could play a really bad version of Tomb Raider on it.
There's a lot of games. They were not great on the old n-gage, but it is what it is. It had replaceable like faceplates. You could change the faceplates out to change the button schemes.
Oh, weird.
Which was kind of interesting.
I just remember you had to. So it was like taco shaped, like the letter D, basically, right? And instead of like just having the phone speakers on the front, the flat part of it, it was on the D, the line part of the
ridiculous.
So it looked like you were holding a taco to the side of your head to talk on the phone.
I may have been incorrect about the faceplate thing. That was something else, but
wow,
they released a different version, different model. Fake news, yeah. I got you guys. But yeah, 3 million units. I couldn't believe that.
No, I didn't think it was that successful.
Then there was a system called the Game King, which looks like a Game Boy Advance ripoff.
Oh, I kind of remember seeing some of that.
The only note that's on the thing, it says series of low-end handhelds. So there you go. We get to the Tap Wave Zodiac, which again was another game console PDA combo.
Oh, okay.
But it had a touch screen with a stylus and an MP3 player, which was interesting. It also used SD cards for storage.
The future is now, old man.
Yeah, so that was 2003. Then we get to 2004, where the Nintendo DS releases and sells 154 million copies.
Prints money. It prints money.
In 2004, we also have the PlayStation Portable.
Oh, they were the same year. Okay.
Sold 80 million. So Sony is hand over fist. Like they nailed it with the PSP.
Yeah.
Right.
PSP was good, man.
We'll get into that probably in another episode.
Probably 3 episodes away.
This is when we jump into the Gizmondo.
The ad fucking dude. You had to watch ads to play the games. I say that. Here's the thing. Want to know the worst thing about the Gizmondo? Is that I just said that, and now on your fucking cell phone, that's literally what you do.
That is what you
have to do. And back then, everyone's like, I ain't buying this shit. I gotta watch ads to play the games. Yeah. And now that's every fucking kid that grew up playing cell phone games.
I'm not watching ads. That's unacceptable. Now it's like, hey, can I have an ad version so I don't have to pay so much money?
Yes, it's so stupid, man.
The Gizmondo plays SD cards, as the other ones have up to here. This is kind of cool. It has got a camera, GPS, text messaging, and Bluetooth wireless.
It had Bluetooth?
It had Bluetooth. The technology was way behind the DS and the PSP, though. So, I mean,
game quality was real bad. Yeah, I remember.
But yeah, like you mentioned, it had a smart ads model that released, which sold at almost half the price of the unit. But you had to stream advertisements daily to use the system.
Yeah.
And so this is what created the concept of smartphone gaming advertisement thing.
But imagine if you know what? I don't even want to say it out loud. I was going to say, imagine if you could buy, if this happens, somebody from the future come back and fucking kill me.
Yeah.
But
yeah, don't.
imagine if you could buy a PS5 for half yeah. If you could buy a PS5 for half the price, but you have to watch an ad every 20 minutes. It interrupts
That's
your
awful.
game.
I hate this. You
And
have
now
to pause the game so you can watch an ad.
yeah, and now somebody's going to listen to this podcast.
It doesn't even pause the game. You're just
dude.
still live.
Oh my god.
Just standing there in game.
I gave some prick CEO the idea just now.
There it is.
God.
Well,
damn
you're not dead. You're not dead, so at least time travel is not existing in this.
That's even worse. There's no time travel, and we're gonna have fucking PS6s that have ads every 20 minutes.
That's right. 2005, a system called the GP2X is released in South Korea and the UK. Sells less
Sounds
than
60,000.
like a
Gundam model.
in 2000, I gotta see where this one was released, but 2009, it's not. This is a system called the Dingu.
The Dingu.
Which I thought it was the Dingo, and I was like, oh, an Australian system, but no, this is Dingu.
Sounds like Chinese or something.
This is a Chinese system.
Yeah.
Also didn't sell a whole lot of stuff. The GP2X, the
Gundam.
follow-up to the GP2X Wiz, the follow-up to the GP2X is released. Also not super important. The Pandora is released in 2010. Which is kind of like a mini laptop almost of the size of a 3DS.
And then the sequel to that, The Pandemic, was released in 2020. It shut down the world. It was so good.
It was so good. People couldn't handle it. The Canoe is released in 2010, which plays games via the internet. It's the successor of the GP2X Wiz, if you're keeping track on the old GP2X systems. Then we get to the 3DS. Which is released in 2011. It's 75 million units. The PlayStation Vita also releases same year, 2011, at 16
million. So
they
kept making all these shitty handhelds up until like 2010?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is there any past the 3DS, or did they finally give up?
Nope. There's a couple more.
What? Why?
The Neo Geo X is released in 2012.
Okay, like I can kind of understand that. Cool, I guess.
The Game Gadget is released in 2012. It plays a number of licensed Sega games. What? Sells less than 20,000 units.
Oh my god! Again, I could sell that out of my car and probably do just as well.
The GCW Zero is released in 2013.
Is this part of the acclaimed GP O2 line of consoles?
I think so. This also has a focus on homebrew and emulation, and it was a Kickstarter unit.
Oh, okay.
Because we're kind of moving into
this is where like the emulation handhelds.
Well, and we're kind of moving into like handhelds as like an alternate. Like I want to play Super Nintendo games.
Oh, like the Superboy.
Kind of moving into that, right?
Yeah,
Then you get the NVIDIA Shield is created in 2012, which is kind of cool. It connects to a controller, and it's got like a screen that's on the back of it. So you play on the controller, you got a screen there.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, I mean, it introduced a couple different things, such as HDMI connection to a TV or wireless game streaming from your PC, which
that's kind of cool. Yeah.
The GPD XD, this is still that same games line. 2015. Looks kind of like a 3DS, but take the screen away from the bottom part. It's just a screen.
Are these like Chinese knockoffs at this point, those ones, or no?
I don't know, to be perfectly honest, because there's a lot of open source,
like the Nintendo systems, V,
right?
and the Game Station.
The Ardu Boy is open-based software on the Arduino hardware, so this is like people now like creating their own handhelds. This is 2016. The GPD Win, still in the same.
What an illustrious! There's nothing says quality like the GPD line.
2016, it was a Microsoft Windows-based handheld and PC hybrid with a full QWERTY keyboard. So interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
The Nintendo Switch is released shortly after this time frame. This is 2017. Still actively being created. You've got the Evercade, created in 2020.
Yeah, so I think this is now where it's like it's just emulation handhelds.
And now we're in emulation. Yeah, so we're like the Steam Deck is in here.
Yeah.
The Thummy.
Never heard of
the
that.
The Playdate. The Ayano 2, the ROG, the Republic of Gamers, ROG Ally.
Yeah.
and the Techno Pocket, and that is the bottom of the list.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's way too
There's
many,
a lot
man.
of handhelds. There's a lot. But I mean, with that being said, I
Nothing
mean,
lived up to the GP2X Mini.
I mean,
I
I
would
gotta
say.
check. I gotta check that system out, man. Like,
I mean, they kept making them.
the
Somebody was buying them.
GP2X, man,
Somebody was buying
2005. But I mean, the thing is that I think if you were to reduce that list to game systems that sold over 1 million units, this list would be like a quarter of the size, right?
Yeah.
Because the vast majority of these are under 1 million units sold, and niche products, right?
Yeah.
Very like not great stuff.
Yeah.
Handheld market for the most part has been really one tracked. It has been Nintendo, and then Sony showed up with the PSP, and they tried to do the same thing with the Vita, but they didn't get the same. They didn't have the same momentum as they had with the PSP. It still did okay.
Well, I think they kind of
good, but
they kind of shit the bed because they had the PSP Go too, right?
yeah,
And then
they tried too much at once.
Yeah, and the PSP Go nobody really liked, and then the Vita was like a PSP Go that could play like better tech games, like a newer generation of games, but people already were kind of not we're kind of burnt out on the PSP Go. But
Totally,
we'll get to all that.
And so yeah, and I mean the vast majority of systems now are project things, like where they're trying to recreate like the better version of the Game Boy that does emulation, that has the backlit screen, that has the color, like the upgrade stuff, the thumbsticks, the buttons,
exactly.
Right.
One that was really cool.
It's interesting.
That was like an emulation-ish machine, but just did Super Nintendo. I kind of mentioned it was like the Super Boy.
Yeah.
That one, it played Super Nintendo cartridges, and it even had, on the front of it, you could plug Super NES controllers into it. And I think it had an audio-video out to your TV as well. So a lot of people that like traveled around for work, I know, had like the Super Boy.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I've been redirected on Wikipedia to the Hyperkin is the name of the product.
Ooh, that's Tiger Electronics, I think that one.
Is
that the one with the eye flap? You're like looking at it. It's like a headset thing.
Maybe, but I mean, like they got a bunch of stuff here. But they're the ones who released the Super Boy, a handheld Super Nintendo.
Okay.
Then they released the Super Boy S. The Super Boy S also had an NTSC PAL switch that you could switch between Super Famicom and Super Nintendo games. Then they just upgraded. They also created the Retron 5.
Okay, that's where I remember seeing Hyperkin. Okay.
They had all the cartridge ports on the top. So you could put the NES, the SNES, the Genesis, right? You could put all those games in there and play them.
So there's a Tiger Electronics console. And it's like if you took everything bad about Tiger Electronics and everything bad about the Virtual Boy and combined them, that is the console. So, what is it called? It's like a fucking it's red, of course, because the Virtual Boy.
Sure.
And it's got like a thing, like you wear it on your head.
Okay.
It looks like almost like a scouter from fucking Dragon Ball Z. And it comes out.
Didn't the Nerd play that?
Yes, dude. And it's like worse than these somehow. And I don't know what the hell it was called. But I was thinking of the Hyper Scanner, which is another shitty Tiger Electronics console with discs. But the Hyper Scan. But then there was like that actual system. And like technically I think that one would be a portable system, but it is absolute dog shit.
I can't find it in a
You know what I'm talking about, though.
I do, yeah. It was like you wore it on your head. It was headband. Let me see if I can find this quick.
I tried.
Headband, one screen.
It was just an eye. You just looked at it with one eye.
Yeah.
Brutal.
One eye. I can't remember.
I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, but I mean, it was. I remember watching the Angry Video Game Nerd
episode. Yeah.
And I gotta say,
that's gotta be the worst.
Was it the Tiger R Zone?
It might have been.
It was the R Zone. It was. Might have been. Yeah, it was the Tiger R Zone, dude. It's so bad. They had a bunch of games though. They had let's see here: Alien vs Predator, Batman and Robin, Batman Forever, Mortal Kombat 3.
Yup,
Sonic
that's the
R that
one.
was canceled. Yeah, yeah. And you wore it like it was a headband, and you wore it. And it had the one eye thing, and so you're like closed one eye. And you had to watch.
Yeah,
it.
dude.
Awful. Awful.
Lots of awful
system.
handheld systems. People just trying to cash in on absolute garbage.
I love it. Just one last quick note on Hyperkin. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but they're the ones that are creating that N64 that outputs to HDMI.
Oh,
Uses the N64 cartridges.
Now
so
you
it's
can
like
play
upscale
all your
everything.
terrible N64 games in HD.
If you liked N64, that's probably a system that's on your radar because
You have the
yeah,
only
pretty
good N64 game in your possession,
Yeah,
and you've never even played it.
I was like, I got this game. I don't know because I don't really like. I have the N64.
Same.
It's not my console.
No.
It's never been my console. And everybody who's like, oh, you need to play this. The game's always bad. And the only reason why they like it, is because they loved it as a kid and they've got that kind of
nostalgia,
nostalgic for it. And that's good. If you love it, that's great. I'm glad that you found something that you like. But every time I'm not impressed. I've never seen an N64 game where I'm like, that game is awesome. Yeah. The same way that I am with the PS1, where I'm like, how did they do that? Right?
Yes.
Like so the first time you see the cutscenes on Final Fantasy, you're like, how did they do that? And then they couldn't do it on the 64.
Yeah.
Like, they just couldn't do it.
Big worlds. You don't see any like giant worlds on the N64. Like there's nothing.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't be convinced that the 64 was a good system.
No,
it is what it is. Hey, a lot of people had it as a kid. A lot of people loved that system, and I say, good for you. I love it.
I tried playing I think it's called Jet Force Gemini, because I remember like seeing the ads for it back in the day and it looking good. And I played it like a couple years ago, and it was even shit. And I was like, what the hell, man? This is supposed to be the good one.
I don't know. Most of the time, anytime I'm like, tell me.
Except Harvest Moon 64. That's a good game.
Tell me the best 64 game ever released. That like the one game. If you could play one game on the 64, that was that one game.
X-Wing,
it's always
Rogue Squadron or whatever.
It's always
that
they'll always say Ocarina of Time, Mario 64. Every now and then you'll get a Smash Bros. Every now and then you'll get like a Star Fox 64.
Star Fox 64 is pretty good. But
the games
nothing's
are okay,
like fucking groundbreaking.
And that's what I mean. Is like every time I see one of those games, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get why you like it, but I don't. This isn't amazing. Right
and then
now.
You fire up like Lunar or like
that's what I'm saying.
Final
like
Fantasy 9.
When you put it 1-to-1 to like a game on the PS1 where you're like, show me like the best, absolute best game on this system, and you fire up Final Fantasy 9, and you watch that intro cinematic.
Yeah,
you're like, this is on a PS1.
Yeah,
this was released in 2001. What? And I just there's nothing like that. I've not one time have I been impressed by the 64 like that.
Yeah.
And if there's a game out there that's like that, I want you to tell me in the comments, and I will. No, I fired up, dude. I fired up Ogre Battle 64, and it's not like that at all.
No, it's not as good as that.
It's the same 64
it's still
stuff
pretty good, though.
That's always like
it's
that.
Pretty good.
F-Zero 64.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I think that would be the one. If I had to pick one, that would probably be it, because that one was pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was a good time.
But
might be my favorite F-Zero game.
Yeah,
the GameCube one's really good, but it's a little too fast.
It's fast, yeah. The GameCube one's really hard to control. But if you have a game, the 64 game that would blow my hair back, put it in the comments. I want to hear. I want to hear it and then try it, and then I'll let you know what I thought.
Are you gonna buy a toupee first?
No. Well, yeah, I'll buy a toupee
so that it can be blown back.
and that way, it's like, you know that picture of Trump with his hair. Like this?
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll do that. If you can get me a 64 game that would do that, I will recreate that picture. No problem.
Yeah.
It's
fucking
legit. It's gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen though, because it's not gonna be good enough.
No.
But yeah, let us know. Like, did you guys play any of these oddball handhelds?
Yeah, I want to know about current handhelds. There's so many like random named handhelds.
Yeah.
Right. There's people in the Discord popping off being like, you gotta check this handheld with this board and this.
But those are like emulation kind of.
Yeah, but
machines.
I mean, like, it's there's still a pretty heavy world of handhelds that's even out there today, which is still pretty impressive.
Kind of cool, yeah. But let us know. Let us know. Did you love the Atari Lynx? Did you grow up? I want to hear I want to hear somebody in the comments talk about that they have the same nostalgia for the Atari Lynx that I have for the Game Gear. You know what I mean? Like, the Game Gear is not like a phenomenal system by any means, but it's
No.
the Game Gear is like my N64. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, the games aren't. The
You,
games
like,
are
look back
good.
on
There's
it
some good
fondly.
games.
Yeah.
It's not gonna blow your hair back, but
You're
it's
not gonna blow your toupee back.
It's not gonna blow your toupee back, but I grew up playing it, so I love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, there's some games on there where it's impressive considering that its main competitor was the Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a tough sell. That's
Yeah.
a tough one. There's a reason why the Game Boy was the most successful handheld,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Like that's just how it is.
So next episode, would it be the Game Boy Advance?
I think so. Yeah, I think
Game
that's where
Boy
we're at.
Advance. That's gonna be a good one.
That's gonna be a great. I remember getting my Game Boy Advance fondly.
Yeah, same.
It was a good time.
And then my
Yeah.
SP and all the things you could do with the Game Boy Advance, but we'll get into
Game
that.
Boy Advance had a lifespan, man.
Yeah,
it was great.
Good games on that bad
Yep.
boy. Well,
Back in the day when Nintendo wasn't all about what they are today.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening. I should probably say this at the beginning of the episodes, but if you if you wanted to listen instead of watch, check it out on Spotify. If you wanted to watch and you're used to listening, check it out on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dookie03.
Watch it on YouTube and then listen to it in your car. And do the double listen.
Yeah,
you probably
listen to
missed
it
something
back.
the first
You probably
time through.
missed half of it because you were looking at these sexy faces.
You were over there looking at the
I'm like trying to
the
like
R zone.
I don't know.
This way. Yeah, you're probably busy looking up the R zone with us, right?
Yeah, dude.
So yeah.
But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please like the YouTube video, subscribe, check out our Twitch streams, twitch.tv/Dookie03.
Twitch.tv/DG online up here.
Exactly. So please check those out. Enjoy. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you in the next episode talking about the GBA. Oh, you know what? Let us know some GBA games to take a look at that maybe most people wouldn't have played, because I think that'd be cool. I would definitely.
If you say Golden Sun, I already played it.
Yeah, I already tried Golden Sun as well.
But yes, tell us your favorite GBA titles, and we'll be sure to call them out.
Yeah, for sure. Have a good one, guys.
Have a great one. We'll see you next time.